At the beginning of the movie, we see a group of priests and priestesses sitting in extreme fear. Then, an unknown assailant decapitates them, following their horrifying deaths. Their bodies are stripped naked, revealing cryptic, ancient languages and symbols etched onto their backs. The skin on their backs is subsequently removed and handed over to a man seated in the vicinity. Shortly after, she begins to suffer from intense stomach pain, prompting her to rush to the washroom where she vomits a lot. Following this distressing experience, she begins to regain her composure. The washroom light starts to flicker, and eventually, the room plunges into darkness. A light then gradually illuminates the room, but the window glass suddenly shatters, and her stomach pain returns. When she exits the washroom in agony, she is startled to observe tears streaming from the eyes of the statue of Mother Mary. She then discovers cuts on her palms and begins to scream in excruciating pain. The scene transitions to St. Petersburg, where the bishop informs Father Fox that Yulia has specifically requested his presence. However, he declines the request, expressing his disbelief in exorcisms. He reveals that he wishes to move on with his life because he's in love with a woman, and the child she's caring for deserves a genuine father. The bishop tells him that Yulia is pregnant with twins, and she claims it's immaculate. She says her unborn kids talk to her and that she knows that one of them is good and one is evil. He requests him to take a read for him and tells him that Cardinal Russell will personally oversee the verification as he is an expert in ancient languages, just like him. Fox shares the details of Julia's case with his love, Laura, who insists that the woman needs help, urging Fox to take on the case. Initially uninterested, Fox's perspective changes when Laura mentions her upcoming work trip to Estonia, suggesting that he should do this as his final case. In the subsequent days, Fox arrives at the convent, where Sister Snyder introduces him to Cardinal Russell. It quickly becomes apparent that Cardinal Russell is impressed with Fox's expertise and previous work. To illustrate the gravity of the situation, Cardinal Russell directs Fox's attention to a statue of Mother Mary shedding tears. In response, Fox meticulously inspects the nearby water pipeline, proposing that the phenomenon might be ascribed to condensation. Seeking updated information, Fox inquires about any developments beyond the initial report. Cardinal Russell elucidates that Yulia refuses to communicate with anyone except him. At this juncture, Father Saul makes a dramatic entrance, revealing himself as the one-eyed man encountered earlier. Fox, now face to face with Yulia, questions her motive for specifically requesting to speak with him. Yulia discloses a supernatural connection with her unborn children, asserting that they convey information to her, information she wouldn't otherwise possess. According to her unborn children, Fox is the sole individual capable of preventing a looming catastrophe. Fox probes further, asking if Yulia believes something ominous is destined to happen to her. In response, Yulia attributes Fox's presence to divine will, asserting that they are working to thwart a plan they comprehend better. The exchange is interrupted by an elderly nun, who intervenes and escorts Yulia away from the conversation. Subsequently, Fox engages in a meeting with Cardinal Russell, who presents him with images featuring the same ancient language and symbols. The cardinal recognizes the script as Zoroastrian in origin but admits to never having seen it before. Fox, scrutinizing the images, discovers a text prophesying the birth of twin boys from a virgin, one good and one evil, prior to the Messiah learning to love. The prophecy suggests an ensuing conflict where the Antichrist attempts to kill his brother, utilizing a holy man serving as both soldier and father. Skeptical of the prophetic narrative, Fox questions the decision not to place Yulia in a hospital, especially considering her history of mental illness. The cardinal elaborates, recounting Yulia's childhood experiences where inexplicable phenomena led to misinterpretations, psychiatric interventions, and medication due to perceived hallucinations. This revelation adds a layer of complexity to the unfolding mystery, intertwining the supernatural with psychological elements in the intricate narrative. However, the cardinal holds the belief that Yulia was genuinely experiencing visions from God. In her room, Julianne senses movement in her stomach, inducing terror. Suddenly, the door swings open, revealing Father Saul standing before her. Only then do Fox and the cardinal hear her screams, and we witness Yulia being sedated. Later, as Fox heads towards his room, he detects a door opening and someone passing behind him. Intrigued, he investigates and discovers footprints. Following them, he encounters Yulia walking naked into a pond, seemingly attempting to stop her. Rushing towards her, he jumps into the pond, but she mysteriously vanishes. To his astonishment, he then perceives two newborn babies floating in the water, and the next moment, Julia appears beside him, jolting him awake from the dream. As Fox rises from his sleep, a nun is seen standing in a corner, facing a wall, startling him with her sudden presence. It becomes apparent that the nun had sleepwalked into the room. As Fox goes to escort her back to her own room, he notices a silhouette at the window. Upon leaving the room, Fox overhears a conversation between the cardinal and Father Saul, discussing the controversial notion of aborting Yulia. Given the advanced stage of her pregnancy, they now contemplate the grim necessity of killing the children after their birth. This revelation adds a layer of moral and ethical complexity to the unfolding narrative, raising questions about the lengths to which the characters are willing to go in confronting the supernatural forces at play. After Father Saul departs, Fox confronts the cardinal, questioning if the sinister plan he overheard is the reason he was sent to the convent. He vehemently argues that participating in such a plan would condemn him to hell. In response, the cardinal asserts that their duty is to safeguard humanity, emphasizing the belief that the Antichrist will return when humanity is farthest from God. Fox counters, emphasizing Yulia's humanity, portraying her as just a girl who desires these children. Motivated by a determination to uncover the truth, Fox follows Father Saul and is horrified to discover him engaged in a satanic ritual with a group of individuals in a room. Upon realizing an attempt to capture him, Fox manages to lock them in the room and swiftly returns to the cardinal, urging him that they must leave the premises. By the time Father Saul emerges to intervene, all three of them successfully escape in a car. As they reach the railway station, Fox calls Laura, seeking her assistance. The cardinal purchases tickets, possibly intending to carry out a dark mission, but Fox clarifies to Laura that they need a train to tell him. Yulia, in the midst of severe stomach pain, ultimately gives birth to both children with the assistance of the cardinal. Fox witnesses the intense and mysterious birth but eventually loses consciousness in the overwhelming events unfolding before him. The narrative intensifies as the characters grapple with the supernatural forces, moral dilemmas, and the impending birth of children intertwined with divine and malevolent destinies. After some time, an officer arrives to check their passports. He observes the two children, one of whom is completely calm while the other is crying. This sight causes the officer to develop a severe headache, leading him to turn around and start banging his head against the window glass. And only then Fox regains consciousness. Yulia reassures him that he will be okay and mentions that she stitched him up while he was asleep. Fox observes that both children have survived, and Yulia describes it as a miracle and tells him that she has named them Samuel and Jacob. Finally, after some time, they arrive at the Talon station and Fox spots the same officer outside whom he had seen in his dream. On the other hand, Father Saul is waiting for the three of them at the key station in Talon. Laura picks up all three of them and brings them to her grandfather's house. She explains that her grandfather had become quite peculiar towards the end, but the place is spacious, comfortable and equipped with everything they might require. Laura then takes them to the basement and informs them that her grandfather had started preparing for the end of the world as he got older. The cardinal takes note of some peculiar paintings in the basement, and Laura mentions that she believes her grandfather saw visions of the end times, which he dedicated his time to painting. Laura also warns them that there are likely still live traps out there. When the cardinal inquires about her grandfather's cause of death, Laura looks up and reveals that it was unexpected. And we learn that he hanged himself in the house. Following this conversation, Laura takes Yulia to her room, where Yulia becomes elated upon seeing a crib for her children. Later, we see Laura discussing some outbreak with someone, expressing the need to find out if they are responsible for the unfolding events. Following this conversation, Fox expresses his gratitude to Laura for her assistance and mentions that, as she suggested, they plan to raise their family in Canada. He emphasizes the danger of returning to St. Petersburg. Meanwhile, Yulia observes them from the window as Laura departs. Fox starts feeling dizzy due to the crying of the child, ultimately fainting. On the other hand, Father Saul searches Fox's room and discovers photos of Laura in one of his journals. The following evening, Yulia proceeds to remove the bandage to inspect Fox's wound. To their astonishment, they discover that the wound has completely healed. It becomes evident that both of them are developing an attraction to each other, although their focus is interrupted by a crying child. Yulia remarks that it seems like the children want them to be together. The cardinal begins to gain a deeper understanding of the situation, conveying that everything is unfolding in accordance with ancient symbols. He explains that Fox will die as a priest but be reborn as a father of twins. Clarifying that this isn't a prophecy but rather a possibility, he urges them to make a decision regarding their course of action. Suddenly, the room is filled with a baby's cries, and Fox is overcome by fear when he sees snakes instead of the child. The narrative takes a surreal and ominous turn, introducing elements of uncertainty and supernatural phenomena as the characters grapple with their destinies. Later, Fox goes to the basement to retrieve something, where he senses someone behind him. Upon turning around, the lights suddenly go out. He starts hearing whispers in close proximity, and moments later, the lights automatically turn back on. Simultaneously, as Father Saul continues searching for Fox, he arrives at Laura's house and comes face to face with her cat, visibly horrified to see him. After that night, Fox and Yulia have the same dream in which Yulia puts a ring on his finger, and they both share an intimate moment. The next morning, she tells Fox that the child communicates with them through dreams, much like the man on the train. They seem to share the same dream. Yulia believes that they are chosen, akin to Mary and Joseph, and she feels that they are meant to be a family. However, at that moment, there's a knock on the door, and Fox is shocked to see Laura covered in blood. Laura explains that someone at the factory threw blood on her. She informs him that she has booked a flight for Canada in the morning, acknowledging that it's sudden, but the sooner they depart, the better for all of them. The narrative introduces a blend of supernatural occurrences, shared dreams, and unexpected twists, keeping the characters on edge as they navigate the mysteries surrounding them. Laura visits the children, and Yulia hands her one of the babies to hold. However, as soon as Laura sees the baby's face, her smile vanishes, and she becomes emotionally overwhelmed, shedding tears. Both Yulia and Fox are surprised to witness this emotional reaction. Following this, Laura and Fox return to Laura's house. While Laura is retrieving some clothes for Yulia from her cupboard, it is revealed that Father Saul has killed Katya and concealed her body there. However, Laura remains unaware of this gruesome discovery. Later, when Laura is in her room, it becomes apparent that Saul is keeping an eye on her from outside. Soon after, Laura also realizes this and calls Fox there, informing him that there is someone outside. Fox turns off the lights and attempts to check outside, but he doesn't see anyone there. Laura apologizes to him, suggesting that she thinks he is just getting paranoid. The narrative introduces a sense of suspense and foreboding, with characters beginning to sense the presence of danger and unknown forces at play. Meanwhile, the cardinal hears a haunting voice urging him to kill the children and save money, gradually luring him with promises of power and wealth. These voices become increasingly demanding, accompanied by troubling visions that deeply distress him. In an attempt to calm himself, he drinks water, but his terror intensifies upon seeing someone outside the window. The cardinal, fueled by fear and the persistent voices, takes up his rifle and pursues the person into the woods. There, he hears the unsettling voices once again. Eventually, he comes face to face with the mysterious individual who cryptically states, "You are what you serve." Overwhelmed with terror, the cardinal sees his younger self approaching him. And his leg gets stuck in a trap. Desperate to free himself, he finds himself surrounded by a pack of wolves. His younger self urges him to agree to help them kill the child, promising to relieve his pain in return. However, the cardinal defiantly spits on his younger self, causing him to depart. After he leaves, the wolves attack the cardinal, intensifying the ordeal. Meanwhile, Laura and Fox arrive at her factory, where the police are assessing the situation. Laura decides to approach the crowd in an attempt to calm them down. The situation escalates, and as Fox tries to pull her away, a woman from the crowd shoots Laura. She collapses on the spot, chaos ensues, and she takes her last breaths. A boy emerges from the crowd and approaches Fox after Laura's passing. The boy stands beside Fox, places his hand on his shoulder, and then vanishes after leaving Laura's body at the hospital. Fox returns to the cabin, encountering Delia on his way, who informs him that she's searching for the cardinal. He joins her in their quest and together they come across wolves that have devoured the cardinal's body. Fox drives the wolves away, retrieves the nearby rifle, and brings the cardinal's remains back to the cabin. They proceed to perform a funeral pyre for the cardinal. While they are engaged in this solemn act, Father Saul, who had been following Fox, sneaks into the cabin. Inside, Father Saul finds the children and hears a sinister voice urging him to kill one of them for promised kingdoms. A demonic entity in the form of a boy materializes, directing Father Saul to aim his gun at another child. Julia intervenes to stop Father Saul's actions, but he overpowers her, causing injuries and rendering her unconscious. Father Saul makes another sinister move to harm one of the children, but Fox intervenes to prevent the act. A struggle ensues, and Father Saul overpowers Fox, insisting that they must kill the child. However, Fox retaliates by gouging out Father Saul's remaining eye. In the chaos, Elias shoots Father Saul, ending his threat and protecting the child from harm. Father Saul is killed in the confrontation. Julia urges Fox that they must depart, knowing it's only a matter of time before the rest of Fox Day locates them. Just then, she becomes terrified as she sees Laura's grandfather, though Fox is unable to see him. Laura's grandfather points upwards, prompting them to ascend to the attic. In the attic, they discover various paintings, including one that Julia believes depicts their escape from the convent. Another painting illustrates Rousseau's death, and yet another features Laura and her baby. Julia then shows Fox a painting representing their shared dream. Fox starts laughing, realizing the gravity of the situation, and expresses that he has wasted his entire life because the prophecy appears to be real. Julia counters, asserting that it hasn't been decided, and they are not fighting against God but against the devil. Later, the devil begins manipulating Fox's thoughts, causing him to experience bizarre visions. Taking on the form of Laura, the devil tells Fox that they have taken her away from him. Fox, who believed he was nurturing good for God, is now confronted with the idea that he has been causing harm to mankind. The devil informs him that the battle is not yet decided, and Fox alone can save humanity by eliminating the evil one and then taking his own life. Suddenly, Julia wakes up from her sleep and finds Laura's grandfather next to her, urging her to run. Fox starts banging the door, questioning why Julia has locked it. Attempting to break open the door, Fox is interrupted as Julia flees with the children. Desperate for help, Julia approaches two police officers, but the chaos of crying children compromises their ability to comprehend her plea. Fox arrives, violently killing one of the officers and then targeting the second officer. Fox kills the second officer as well, and he begins pursuing Julia. Julia finds herself at a dead end, trapped, and Fox tells her that this is for her own good, proclaiming that they are God's vessel on earth. Julia desperately tries to reason with Fox, insisting that he should only kill the bad one, and he now knows which one is which. She emphasizes their purpose of protecting the Messiah from his brother and urges Fox to remember the warning conveyed in their shared dreams. In a chilling moment, Fox snatches a baby from Julia, seemingly intending to throw him into the ocean. In a desperate act to stop him, Julia shoots Fox with the officer's gun. Believing him to be dead, she starts reading prayers for him. However, as prophesied, Fox comes back to life, signifying the priest's eventual death and the rebirth of the father of the twins. Julia, acknowledging the mysterious and prophetic nature of the events, tells Fox that they are not meant to know the why, but love is the only way forward. Thanks for watching Real Recapped. Please hit the subscribe button so you can get notified for more videos like this.